Everyone's waiting to be perfect. This is impossible. They're associating with perfection. No, you just need to know and have an idea. What is that you want to do? Be the best at doing that as possible. Be open to enlisting others to support you in getting there. Hold true to your vision, do the work, and know that it's bigger than you. Making the impossible totally doable.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Melissa Hughes, who will share how to live rich and share your wealth. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and create harmony to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. Today's quote comes from Jen Sincero. We humans can get used to anything. It really is remarkable. The problem is that we often use this glorious ability of ours to stay stuck in mediocrity. Oh, the years we waste adapting to lousy marriages, soul-sucking jobs, being friends with people who were rude to waitresses. Okay, I hope that's not you. If it is, you're in the right place. Let's face it, most people are in the drift, and that's really what we want to change, to wake them up, shake them up, and show them a better way. We're going to do that. But before we do today, let's continue by reviewing last week's action step, which was to create a morning routine and spend time getting in focus on your goals in life. And just remember, a good morning routine starts with a good evening routine. This is literally about taking charge of your day. It's easing into your day. It's starting with intentionality, not in a rush behind, angry and upset before you even get moving. So, morning routines are wonderful. Mine takes way too long. I think it's like over 3 hours before I really get down to work. I need to tighten that up a little bit and we'll get there, but it's fun. Do you hold back on living the life you want because you don't know if it's possible? It doesn't have to be this way. You can only achieve what you believe. And so it's not the world that's holding you back, it's you. And that's our topic today. With us is Melissa Hughes, founder of Live Rich, Spread Wealth, a business and movement that is all about helping people live richer lives as a result of becoming their best selves. Melissa is a best-selling author, speaker, and master business coach that became a self-made millionaire by the age of 31. Known as the guru of implementation, Melissa's success and that of her clients is a result of her practical, proven systems for business and life success. Let's meet Melissa and learn from her. Welcome to Richer Soul, Melissa Hughes. It's great to have you join us today.
Well, I am so excited to be here, Rocky. I cannot wait to dig into what Richer Soul is all about. I love what you're up to, and I thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you so much, and I'm excited to learn from you as well. We like to start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
Wow, that's like a loaded question. I will say that my family's originally from Jamaica, and so I'm first generation born here in the United States. And they came over here with an American dream. And that American dream included being wealthy, getting good education, things of that nature. And that's what they taught us. But soon after they got here, my mom ended up being a single mom. And I saw her, and I'm her oldest. I saw her giving me a list. I experienced her giving me a list and also giving me some money. And I will tell you that my first time going to the grocery store, I remember having more lists than money. And as a result of that, I was really quite upset about that experience. I went home feeling very indignant and very embarrassed. And after a while, it just came to me that, my mother was a single mother working as hard as she possibly could to make a way in a country that was new to her. So I ended up praying and I was like, God, please use me as a vessel of abundance for my family, as well as anyone that he sends my way. And I think that set me on a course when it comes to money, about my relationship. But furthermore, she didn't trust anybody because she was new to the country and she has these little girls. So she would send us back to Jamaica for the summertime. Now in Jamaica, my grandfather, who's the first business person I ever met, he had a store. He'd take us to the store, take me to the store. And that's why I learned how to be of service, even when it came to profits. At that time, there was Kingston, which is a major city. Then they were in an inner land, Clarendon, Kellett's. And he saw a need that people had to travel really far to get their goods, their textiles and things like that. So he decided to be the solution for the community and bring those goods to the town of Kellett's. And that's where I definitely was able to see what it looked like to be of service, to think of how can you serve in the best way, and to be fairly profitable. On the other hand, my grandmother was the most spiritual person I ever met. So that combination really were the seeds that were planted in me, not only my mom's experience and how she would make a way out of no way, but also my grandparents. That left a real impression on me. And that's where a lot of things got started for me. So when it comes to money, I realized that my mom was able to successfully raise her children. And they call it manifesting now, but she was really praying a lot. When we didn't have it, she'd pray for it and she got it. I realized that when I got older, when I didn't have children, I made a lot of money, but I didn't know how to manage it because I just saw her gain that abundance through her prayer and through her faith to cover what she needed to do for us on our behalf. And I never learned like the ins and outs of money. I just know that it was available and it was possible when you have faith and you trust in your faith and you make those requests.
You're in the right place because we bring money and spiritual together.
Didn't I say I was excited to be here in this conversation? It's real.
I think for a lot of people, they think that they're opposite ends of the spectrum.
I can understand why. Because when I realized my mom, when she's single, she's working corporate, but she's dreaming about all these different businesses. And she'd dream and I get excited and it wouldn't go so well, it would fail. And I saw that enough times that I realized like having a dream is fine, having an idea is fine, but you have to know how to implement your ideas. And so that set me out to be like the best in corporate that I could possibly be, to learn all the business aspects of running a business, bringing ideas to life. I was set out because of her great ideas, but they didn't fly. But as I got older and I got better at what I did, I realized that there's no fulfillment. Like there's always, what have you done for me lately? When it comes to my experiences when I was working for other people in very Fortune 50 companies. And I was like, this can't be what it's all about. And if I can support these businesses being successful, can I really do it for myself? And I'll tell you why spirituality was so important in my entrepreneurial reign. I think that's when I really found religion, quite frankly, because I remember it being a Thursday and this is the first time, first of all, when you're in corporate, you have all these different departments. When you're in your entrepreneurial business, you are the different departments and you're each of them at any moment, at any given day. And I remember on a Thursday, I did not have enough to cover payroll, which is Friday. And I'd never been in that experience before. And I thought I'd rather die than look people in the face and tell them that I couldn't pay them for work that they had already done. They had families, they had responsibilities. And my mother called me that night. I think she sensed what was going on. And so much so she called for backup, my grandmother. And those two women prayed for me and was there with me all night. When I got up in the morning, I was walking to, it was a boutique day spa at the time. I was walking to the door and there was a man waiting there to purchase a membership for his wife. That covered the difference of the payroll shortage and even had enough for supplies. I was convinced that it had to be bigger than me because before that, I was like an A-type personality. If I had a problem, I'd just go harder. I would just do more. I would go to the hilt. But I was so tired and exhausted that I couldn't give anything credit to it being bigger than me. I knew it wasn't me that made that happen. I was ready to tap out.
It's not easy to run a business. I think people look at it and go, it's so simple. But at the end of the day, having to make payroll time and time again is a difficult task. And I think too often employees just expect the money to be there. They don't realize what's going on the other side.
Yeah. They don't realize that, as an owner, you're the last one to get paid. So it's not just making payroll. It's about what's left over.
And in the beginning, most business owners have very little left over. And some of them for years on end have very little left over. They're just constantly working for everyone else to get money, but not necessarily them. And I've noticed that over the years, both within businesses that I've worked with, and also, when we were doing real estate flipping, it always seemed like we were writing these big checks to everybody else.
Yes, absolutely.
Thankfully, we still made money, but it just was like, wow, look at all of the money we're paying all these other people in order for us to do a little bit.
And I think that's why it's not for everybody. I think that unless you're willing to really lean into this thing and have that level of commitment. And that's why I really believe in following your passion and your call, because it can't be just for the money, because some of those days you're not going to get it. So what has you continue to show up every day, to do the best you can, to weather the ups as well as the downs? And initially, there's oftentimes more downs than ups. What is that thing? And that's why, because I think as an employee without that experience, you don't realize the sacrifices. You just see the car, the kids going to nice schools, all these things, but you might not have understood what happened, the sacrifice that need to be done in order to get to be that successful business owner.
For many people, it is a long, hard path. Out of curiosity, what was it that prevented your mother's businesses from having success? You said,
yeah, well, first of all, she was single by herself, working the jobs, making ends meet. And, she had great ideas. She was a creative, I guess, is what they call her to call you today. But as far as she didn't have the business acumen, she had the great ideas, but not the business acumen. You kind of need to have both. And that's where I felt like, now, mind you, fast forward today, we, as a family, own a performing arts Christian preschool in the suburbs of Atlanta. So she got there. But remember, I was her oldest and I was very young to see this. But she also did not give up. And ups and downs, and over time, she was able to no longer she went from corporate to being a teacher, to a principal. So she exited the education industry as a principal. And she learned a few things along the way, including some failed businesses. And that's what really primed us as a family to come together to create something that is crazy successful now. And, but as her oldest, I saw those days where it wasn't pretty. I think the biggest thing is you can never give up on yourself. The business might fail, but it doesn't define you. You always have an opportunity to get back up, relearn, retool, and get back in the hopper.
I think too often people let something else define them. Like a mistake or a failure or something that happened to them. Even if they're let go from a company, I think they let that define them. And too often we let our job define us as well. And we are not just our work.
So true. And you know what? Even if we were to let go, there's some people around us that won't let us forget.
Those are people we need to let go of sometimes.
Yeah, that's the people that we need to let go. And I think what is oftentimes like the 10 times in that experience is when you really you set out, you have a goal, you really want to do well, and you put your all into it. And it's easy to judge from the sidelines. It's easy to be that observer and be able, oh, well, you should have done this. You could have done, I mean, where were you when I was in the throes of it? You know what I mean? And so it's not only the guilt and the shame that can come up as a result of being fired, being let go, having a failed business. It's also exposing yourself and so there's already something in you that makes you feel a ways about it. But when someone else is looking behind you and says, oh, this is what happened, it further awakens that insecurity that happened as a result of the experience. And I feel like it takes time for us to realize that, you know what, that doesn't define me. It's an experience, but I'm still here. I can create, just like I created that one, I can create another one.
You can reinvent yourself as many times as you want to. It's a choice, and it's totally up to you. So you started out in corporate and in some top companies. How did that go?
It went great, actually. I mean, some of it actually was, I guess, serendipitous. I was in healthcare for a long time. I got my master's in healthcare policy administration. And before I graduated, I guess I was in a time that people are like, I saw some people graduate and they didn't work in the field that they graduated in. And I just saw that so many times. Before I left my master's program, I approached a large healthcare system. That's one of the things I did. And I said, look, I'll work for free. I just wanted that experience. Like, you don't have to pay me. I just want to make sure that when I leave, I actually have some experience I can go along with my master's degree. And I also when I was in my master's program, every topic, it was finance, I'd find the VP of finance in the company. I would call around my friends and my colleagues that I was the craziest person ever. But as a student, I said, the only thing they can do is say no. So why not? You know, and that really helped me a lot. And so when it comes to being able to show up in corporate, there's things that can provide clues, taking the initiative. I always wanted to be a part of a solution. I wasn't the best if I was just telling me what to do. I always wanted to know, well, how can I serve in the best way? When I got hired, I would look at, okay, these are the challenges. Now they're all speaking alphabet soup, because when you get hired by a large company, the jargon that's embedded in the culture, I mean, sometimes you need to come with a different dictionary to figure that out. But I always thought, well, what was the opportunity here? And I committed to myself within the first 90 days, I'm not going to leave until I make this contribution. It wasn't for me to share with anyone. It was something that I always set out to do. So come hell or high water, politics or not, I was on a mission to not leave without these kind of accomplishments. And I feel like that's really helped me navigate the terrain, the different corporate environments that I've been in.
I don't do well in those environments.
Well, because I was mission driven, even from corporate, I was able to navigate the terrain. I also understood, which is why I ended up being in my own business, because after you do that so many times, now all of a sudden you're a threat to others. Like there's a way and a cadence that they want to deliver on their productivity. There's a culture there. And, when you're multi-skilled, multi-talented, then there's an environment of scarcity. Like only one person can win, or one person can go for that manager job. Oftentimes I wasn't interested in that job. I was interested in the challenge that came with it, but that's also distinguishing you as it could be a potential threat. So ultimately, corporate wasn't the home for me, because I wanted to make sure that if I have these tools and I don't want to deal with all the politics, what can I do to create my own freedom? And I found that in entrepreneurship.
Was that an easy exit for you?
It was made easy because I was fired.
Someone else made the decision, so that makes it easy.
Someone else made a decision. And it's so weird how that happened, because I had already had my eyes to start a business. I was in corporate, really great job. I had my eyes to start a business. And that weekend, I went to see my family, because this job was a global company and required a lot of time. And it was just a lot. It was just a lot. So that weekend, I went to see my family in a different state, and I was at church, and it was a missionary thing that they were all about. Well, I was so busy with my job. I was like, oh, that sounded so cool what they're doing in the world, but I'm not going to be able to go. So I'm going to make a significant donation. And with the donation, I had this conversation in church with God. And I'm like, you know what, God, I want the next phase of my life to partner with you to build this business that I already had my eye on, right? So I thought I was feeling really good. I left out of the church. I stayed with my family, came back home. That Monday, the manager flew to town. wanted to have a meeting with me, and I was fired. so, so it's like, be careful about the intentions that you set because it might show up differently than you intended.
Was that totally unexpected then?
Yeah, it was unexpected. But, it wasn't expected because it was a really good job. Like I had the titanium handcuffs. So I wouldn't have naturally walked away, right? But at the end of the day, I always had the desire in my heart to do more and to do bigger and make more impact. And so I think that I basically gave God permission to release me to my future.
Sometimes we need that kick.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. And a few years later, I became a millionaire by 31. So if I had stayed in the titanium handcuff job, I would never have had that experience. I would never have been able to be so outside in a new arena to see what's possible. It wouldn't have happened. So I really am thankful for the journey.
What allowed you to achieve that financial success so early?
Well, I believe because I had been groomed in corporate America. And I learned, I was in management in corporate, so I was basically I got paid a lot of money to learn business. That's what I did. And so when I was out there in corporate, I knew that there's importance of marketing, getting the word out. I knew it was important in being in the community. I knew enough that I was able to leverage that. That's really it. And I think that when you do so much in corporate and you get to a certain point where you're like, oh my gosh, like if I had one more piece of blood, like they would have totally come for it. Kind of thing. Like they don't really care. You're more, it's more of like a machine-based environment, some of them. And so when you do so much to get that MBO, get performance reviews and get that 5 to 12% or that $20,000 bonus and above or what have you, it takes a lot out of you. So when I ended up doing my own business, then I was exhausted still, but I was so fulfilled because I knew that whatever was going to happen was a direct result of my actions and I would reap the benefits in that moment. That was my belief system at the time.
So how did you learn the business finance part of it?
Yeah, about that. Can I say in my first, entrepreneurial straight away journey, I learned the business finances of it. I learned the reality of the financial needs of it. That's what I learned. I would not say that there was a profit first. I wouldn't say that I had that level of exposure. Remember, I came from a mom that was a single mom that would pray for things to happen. She was very much, while we didn't have the money, she'd try to spend her last to live in a nice neighborhood so we can get some free education. Or if that was too expensive, we get apartments in school districts that were very good. So I saw how she navigated to provide us with the best opportunity. But I did not see the management of any of that. And I'm not sure it was. I literally think she was the first manifestor I ever met. So I can't even say my first business. I got financial awareness, but I did not learn all the lessons.
Have you learned them now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That's why I can be thankful now because I did have that business. I will say part of the challenge with having that business that was so successful, I did not have the right mindset. So it didn't stay successful. I felt alone. I didn't know these things that we're talking about right now, this hindsight 2020, I didn't know these things. I thought I would have been the first person to miss a payroll. I thought like all these things, I didn't know that. So I felt also that success meant being alone because when I started to be an entrepreneur, my family didn't understand why would you leave a good job to go out on your own? So I didn't have that support. They thought it was quite interesting and quite silly, but they're like, she's going to do what she's going to do anyway. I guess the kind of kid that I was. But I did not have that support. So it was really difficult to even have conversations with others to get input, feedback, collaboration. I'm a part of an organization right now called Entrepreneur Organization. And that's where we're able to really collaborate, really be able to express what's really going on. None of those really existed for me back then. So because I was so isolated and doing this all by myself, then from a mental perspective, I just pretty much was like, look, I already proved to myself that this wasn't virtual reality, that I can be successful. And then I actually ended up filing bankruptcy because it was more of like a spiritual drain. I was in the dirty South. Some people might know the dirty South. And I'm an African-American woman doing a lot of, apparently successful things, but people were really questioning that. They were really questioning, who am I to be here doing these things? So much so, a lady was actually in my lobby with my employees. Well, how did she get that car? How did she know? Like those kind of things. At one point in time, I said, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm done. It just wasn't worth it. And I feel like if I can do it here, I can do it somewhere. And I'd rethink how I did business. So a lot of lessons that are, I'm a thorough learner. So a lot of lessons, but it really supported me in what I did from that point forward. It supported me in how I support others. So I'm really thankful for the lessons, but it wasn't an easy road.
Interesting. One of the things I've heard you say is you make the impossible totally doable.
Yes.
How do you do that?
You know what? I actually took my clients on a trip to Dubai. And what I loved about why I picked Dubai, I've been there before. And what I loved about it was a long time ago. So when I was in Dubai the first time, I was on the precipice of really growing up bigger in my business. I just started a movement, and I just saw like, oh my gosh, like they just thought about that and they put that there, and it was all desert. And that was like really intriguing to me. There was absolutely nothing there, and they decided they were going to do something great. And, regardless of what anyone's opinion is about culture and stuff like that and all that, but at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is it was a desert. There was nothing there. And now they have people all over the world visiting them to see the tallest building in the world at the time, those kind of things. And it was pretty amazing. And I was like, wait a minute, they actually did something out of nothing. And I was observing it and said, well, what did that take? You had to actually, first of all, believe it was possible. You had to be open to what does it need to look like in order for us to make this happen? The answer might be get someone that's smarter, or, get the funding to bring the team in. Like there was a lot that had to be in a level of creativity and desire before it actually was seen. And I decided to bring my clients back there recently because it was his 50th year anniversary. And to be able to take them to the Burj Khalifa and some of these places that were like, 7-star. And then I took them to these places and I said, okay, after we ate and experienced it, the high tea and all this, I said, so tell me about this. Was it super fantastic? Like, was it so perfect? And they're like, no, it wasn't perfect. It was good, but it wasn't like something out of the ordinary. And I said, that's why it's available to you. Everyone's waiting to be perfect. This impossible. They're associating with perfection. No, you just need to know and have an idea. What is that you want to do? Be the best at doing that as possible. Be open to enlisting others to support you in getting there. Hold true to your vision, do the work, and know that it's bigger than you. Making the impossible totally doable.
Today's episode is sponsored by Profit Answer Man Podcast. Did you know that most small business owners hate looking at their financials? It's one reason they may struggle with business success. The Profit Answer Man podcast helps them ensure they are profitable and can pay their employees and weather the storms we all have to face. It's built on the Profit First methodology of pay yourself first. The Profit Answer Man podcast is a must listen to for every small business owner and anyone who wants to help them survive and thrive. Check it out on your favorite listening platform. And until you believe it's possible, it isn't. So I think it starts with that right mindset.
Absolutely.
And take the first step. It's going to be messy. That's okay. And we'll just continue down the journey and keep going and make it a little bit better. And there is no such thing as perfection. And it's funny because I know we've gotten to the point in life that a 7-star restaurant doesn't impress me. Right. And when I go there, I have such high expectations that if anything isn't perfect, it's like, wow, that wasn't good.
Right, exactly. But they didn't have to be perfect to get to 7-star. I mean, I'm sure the marketing is great, but they do have a certain level of quality. But I'm like, look, we have the opportunity to be 7-star. What does your 7-star mean? But I do know that they worked for that. They worked hard. I mean, I think you have to qualify for some of those things. They passed that test and they did it. So be the best at whatever you set out to do. And when you're in movement with the right intentionality and mindset, you can be guided. So it doesn't have to be perfect. What you think it's going to look like can look totally different when it's all said and done, but it can still be in alignment with the intention that you set.
You have to set it, though.
Yes, you absolutely do. Yeah, I remember earlier on in this whole journey of mine, I know I'm pretty smart, but there was some class I was in, and it was a book that we read, and it said, if you know how to get there, you're not dreaming big enough. I was like, damn it. I know how to get to a lot of places, but I was keeping myself safe in that. Other people might think that's impressive, but I knew for sure that I wasn't dreaming big enough. And I feel like that's when I decided to do the movement. It was big. It was big for me. And I went and I leaned in and I did that. And I was like, man, that's a lifelong time of work, and I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm up for it. So definitely stay in movement, because at that time you can be guided. And life has unfolded very well since then. It's
true. You can't steer a ship in port.
Right, exactly. I love that. That's great.
Got to get out into the open sea.
Get out there.
One of the struggles that I think people have, and that they don't create good harmony with, is time and money.
Right.
Meaning it's a constant battle of trading off. How have you been able to conquer that?
Yeah, well, they're not alone. I came up with the 80-20 rule method, right? Because I realized in corporate, even when I had a successful consulting business, because you're billing by the hour, okay? So that's a lot of drain on your time. I realized that 80% of my time in my life was given to other people. I mean, traditionally, we get up early, first thing in the morning, we're driving into the office. All of that time, by the time we get home to the things that we feel really matter, we're drained, we're tired. So the family that we say we love, they're getting the last of us, not the first of us. And I set out to really change that 80-20 rule. And I changed it from, first of all, having the mindset that, look, there's got to be another way. How can I make 80% of my life the things that I'm where I want to be, with who I be, when I want to be there, right? And then the 20, which I know we can't escape, 20% of the stuff is stuff I just have to do, right? And so it started with having that mindset, an abundant mindset, because you have to be able to look at different possibilities than what you might be presented with. I looked at really being in alignment with soul purpose. What is that thing that I felt that's my gift to the world? This is how I can make a big impact, and knowing what that looks like. I then looked at, well, how do I monetize that so that there's healthy boundaries? Yes, I'm a huge giver, but how do I make sure that energetic flow is equitable? And then how do I lock it in systematically? And those are the things that I went on that journey. And then I ended up looking at, okay, well, for me, it ended up being coaching, because I was able to bring all of my energies, all of my knowledge. I was able to know how to deliver those results, make huge impacts in a short period of time, and be able to be paid handsomely because I am providing results. So then I was able to look at my family. Now I get to take my daughter to school. For those of you, for me, it's a joy. It's a pleasure, because I'm doing it fulfilled. I'm not exhausted. My husband can get the best of me, not the worst of me, for the most part. But it really switched things up. So now I have more freedom. Now I can focus on our legacy. And it's just a different kind of life. And I spend time, my clients are the ones that I pick. I know who they are. I would go to the end of the earth for them. My family, I can be with my family, as opposed to before I'd miss family events. I'd miss those kind of things. So really time rich and profitable is a method that I have implemented over time. And I'm a thorough learner, so it didn't happen overnight. But that is something that I realized earlier on, that this is not sustainable for me based on the impact I want to make in the world and being able to maintain my values while I do it.
I like it. So as we speak, you're releasing a documentary on fulfillment.
Yep, on the Live Rich for Wealth movement, Abundance is Your Birthright. Yes.
So can you share a little bit about that?
Well, yes. See, the Live Rich, Spread Wealth is a movement that I created about 15 years ago now. And what it really means is living rich is accepting all of who you are, your education, your quirky, your training, your experiences, and then supporting humanity in a positive way and getting out of your own way to receive the abundance that that provides. That, in essence, is Live Rich, Spread Wealth. And I, like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years. And so I decided to, I was approached to do a documentary several times, but finally I said yes. And the intention of that is to show what it looks like to have that kind of desire to be of service, to make that impact, to understand what really can go on. Like I share with you my ups and my downs, like the story behind who did it, how in the world did I come to do it? And then what was I able to do as a result of being this founder of this movement? I've been all over the world sharing that message. And the message is really, if you're putting it down to two words, it's really about empowerment and abundance. If I had to sizzle it down to two words, that's really the energy behind it, that you truly can live your best life, make huge impacts in the world, and hold on to all the things you value and get true fulfillment. So if you want to watch the documentary, I would say what you will definitely get is a true understanding, a blueprint, if you will, because I'm sharing with you exactly what I did. The other thing is allowing you to be unapologetic about answering your call and stepping out there and doing the work and understanding that it is powerful. You can have powerful choices to create who you are as you are becoming really stepping into who you really are. I serve the giants in the world. So giants are multi-talented, they're educated, and sometimes we get this thing about being jack of all trades, master of none, but it's not true. And oftentimes as a giant, we're so big on being solutions, standing in the gap for others, that we end up draining ourselves, but no one knows the wiser because we didn't train them to know what it looks like to be a limping giant. They're used to being able to receive all the solutions and all the help from us, all the giving, but they don't even know when we're limping because they just don't see us that way. So I really wanted to show giants in the world that you are so vital to supporting humanity, but you don't have to do it from a sacrificial place. You don't have to give your last. You can give from your overflow. If you want to learn how I did that and how it supported others in the world, then I would definitely say this is for you.
So does this go along with the immense power of unlocking your soul purpose in business and life? Is that kind of the theme there?
It's part of it. It's totally part of it. So that you can be profitable and you can be impactful and in alignment. I just found that, money is one thing and that's great. But when I talk about abundance, money is part of it, but it's by no means all of it. I met a lot of rich people and they are not fulfilled. And I don't want us to continue to go through life feeling that it's either or. It actually can be both and.
So what do you see as the other parts of abundance?
I see family. I really value family. Sometimes when we want our best for our kids, we are out there working hard. We want to send them the best, have them have the best, all the things. But oftentimes what they really want is the parent. And not just the parent, the shell of a parent, because we're tired from doing all that. They want the soul, the connection, being seen, being accepted. And it's hard to do that when you're chasing the money. You lose sight of the souls that you're responsible for, that you're truly divinely connected to, that you have an opportunity to even have more reach in inspiring others and supporting others and getting the things that are valuable for them. Abundance is being able to have good health. You can have all the money in the world. And if you do not have good health, it all is for nothing. You can want to be there for everybody, but if you continue to put yourself last, then all you'll be able to do is focus on yourself and what the condition you're in, as opposed to being there for everybody. So wealth in your health is abundant and it can be debilitating and you can have millions in the bank. So abundance is those kind of things. Staying connected to humanity in a way that allows you to have that flow with grace and ease, understanding that there's actually things that money cannot buy, and to never lose sight of that. When you're really abundant, you have that, and you're able to also have the monetization, the profits along with it.
And I think that's where people struggle. They don't realize they can have both, and that you need to create your, I don't know if walls is the right word, but you need to create your boundaries.
Yes, have healthy boundaries for sure.
Have healthy boundaries to say when to say yes, when to say no, when to make things, sorry, that's not going to happen.
I call it the 3 wins. A lot of times we say, oh, we want a win-win situation, right? And my win-win used to be, I want you to win, and I want whoever we're partnering with, the audience, to win. But actually, there's space for 3 wins. I don't care what order, but make sure there's a win for you too. So that is equitable. So I usually don't move whether it's personal or it's business until all 3 are winning. I already know I'm been a giver forever. Like, that's who I am. And I always want other people to win. But I had this mindset that I couldn't win. Like, I couldn't include myself in the equation of what it looks like to win. So healthy boundaries are very important, because I do believe that if we navigate in that way, then we will be in an overflow and abundant environment. But we're not oftentimes trained like that. A lot of giants are trained to be, a lot of giants, people have been taking from them for a long time, even from a young age, because they had that bright light. And people wanted more and more and more of it. And we wanted to please everybody and things of that nature. So we weren't groomed to be that ebb and flow of taking and receiving. I said, if you can't handle a compliment, you're not going to make money in your business. You're just like, you don't know how to receive. Part of being profitable and being abundant is knowing how to receive. I've met several people that, look, if they receive just as much as they give, they'd already be rich. If it was truly an energetic exchange in what they did, they would be wealthy financially, as well as that. I don't know. I know you can think of some people that they gave their last, like they gave, but when it came to receiving, they actually had a block around that, an abundance block around that for whatever reason. And so it is true that healthy boundaries and even having a mindset that it's possible to be able to win along with everyone that you serve, that would make it a lot better.
When you say yes to something, you are actually saying no to other things, but too often we don't realize that we are saying no because we didn't measure the other side of the equation of what does that then take away.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people can be pleasers, and I love people pleasers. But at some point in time, like, they're the very same ones that I want them to have sustainability in their business. Because if they care about people that much, I want them to win, because they're going to serve their customers in the best way. Their family's going to be straight. But there has to be a balance. There has to be the ability to say no. But what they're also saying is, I'm saying yes to sustainability. I'm saying yes to my legacy. You can't be out there serving the world and have your house in shambles. You want to be able to know that, yes, you can serve the world in the spirit of in a healthy way, and that your family can know your name. You could be just mom and dad to your family. They don't even see you as what the world sees you, but they're just as fulfilled as your clientele is, as the businesses that you do business with. And it can happen. And it oftentimes is a mental shift. It's not that it's not possible, but if we don't even believe or set an intention for that to happen, then we'll never get it. And we can set an intention, but realize that some of the things that need to shift could very well be us in our internal thought processes. And we actually have to do something to gain the results of that. Yes, exactly. I found that out myself too. I'm not saying this because I read that in a book. I'm a thorough learner.
I can't change anyone else, but I can change myself.
When I found that out, I was so relieved. I was like, oh, really? It was like the weight was taken off my shoulders. When I realized that, oh, I just have to work on myself. That's it. It really unlocked a lot of beautiful things as far as that discovery and journey.
And then the only one to blame is yourself.
And I love it. And I take full accountability. Whatever it is, I'll take full accountability. And that has served me very well.
If you want it, you have to pay the price, and the price is within your control, and you have to show up and do the work and make it happen. So along those same lines, though, you talk about the power of being versus doing. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, I took some clients out to Jamaica. There's a retreat. I do this periodically over the years. I rotate them out. And I have a lot of clients, and they're not unique in that they're powerhouses, they're go-getters, and they really are competent. But at the same time, if there's a problem, they just do more. If there is, they will do until they're tired, haggard. That thing that made them the superstar, they're so drained. And I was able to come alongside them and show them that it's in your being that makes you unique. It's in your being. When you are able to be in a quiet place, create from that being place, then you do. But set that intentionality, understand that you are the person that makes that thing special or the thing that makes that thing unique. When you're only being compared with who can do more, who can do better, then you're losing yourself in that. You're now a commodity. So it's important for us to be able to assess the phenomenal things about ourselves and take that inventory and know that we're bringing that in every circumstance, in every situation. And I guess I say that when it comes to giants being in corporate, oftentimes giants bring so much to the table, you're never going to get paid enough to do. You're never going to get paid equitably by what you bring just because of who you be. There are benefits that corporate America can get from you. But when you start trying to do, you lose who you are. You what do you call it? You water down your impact because it's not in the doing that makes you great, it's in the being. So never lose sight of that. It makes life actually much easier.
I agree with that. It's a challenge, though. I mean, you have to work on yourself. Too many people are trying to change the world instead of changing themselves.
Yes.
And that's the only thing we can do is be the light that we want to see in the world. And If we're not doing that, then it's somewhat of a struggle. And I think that's why so many people struggle to be able to achieve what they want, is because they're going the wrong direction.
Right. Exactly. And they're running out of gas. That impacts so many things. When you're always doing, it impacts your health. It impacts your physical health, your mental health. It impacts your spiritual well-being. It just really drains the life out of you. But if you're able to replenish your spirituality, get in a quiet place, get your thoughts together, when you're able to set intentions in the day and say, hey, this is how I want the day to move forward. This is how I'd like the day to go. And you're more grounded and clear. Even when things hit the fan, you react differently because you checked in and you really paid homage and honor to who you be, your being, versus being so caught up in the doing, you lose sight of the goal.
You do. You got to do the internal work. Make it happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there anything that we should have talked about today that we didn't get a chance to?
I think when we're talking about being and self-work and all that, there's something that we're all born with, and that is intuition. That small voice, right? It's not the big voice. Ego and people, and I've had a lot of loud voices in my life that are well-intentioned, that are telling me what to do, or, the way that they're saying it so much that they're convincing me that that's the way to go. But that small voice inside of me is like, I'm not sure about that. That's not the way to go. But it's the small voice. And so leveraging intuition in your business and your life makes things a lot easier as well. And honoring that, which is within you. Everybody's born with it. It's like, and I said, if you're having problems, go back to the manufacturer. They gave you that intuition. Check in with yourself. If you're really tired, if things are so difficult and you feel like you're always pressing into, hitting it hard, pressing into situations that really end up breaking you down, listen to the voice. Like pause, regroup, restructure, rethink another way. That it doesn't have to be hard. You can navigate life with grace and ease. But sometimes we ignore that small voice. And oftentimes we find our small voice when we're so broken down that now we can hear it.
Well, you need silence, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't hear it.
Absolutely.
You need to turn off all the other noise, all the distractions, the social media, the TV, everything else, so that you can hear the voice and you have the ability to listen.
And to navigate with grace and ease. And when you start trusting yourself more, you get more innovative, you get more profitable, you get more fulfillment, just know that a lot of those answers can be found in trusting yourself and trusting your intuition. And you can be guided in that. And oftentimes you do not have to see it all paved out to know where you're going. But if you trust yourself, left or right, your small voice, the big voice be like, left. Small voice is like, go right. It's okay. Be open to creating a life that you never knew was possible.
And I think a lot of times we're excited about certain opportunities, and we're so excited about them, we don't think through them to say, what is the cost of this in reality? And am I willing to pay that price? Because everything has a price, and you should know up front what that price is going to be. And whatever it is, just double it. That's chances are.
That's how it is.
That's how it is.
That's how it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then some prices that you pay are worth it and some are not. So the things that I'm talking about is not brownies and candy light and flowers. It's not that. You actually do have to re-engineer some beliefs. You have to do the work. You have to get honest with yourself. You have to get people off the hook and really know that you own all of the creation in alignment with that, and that's bigger than you. And there's a price to that, because it might cause you to go against the grain. It might cause you to be alone sometimes in the journey. But there are certain things that it's worth it, because you can end up and continue on a journey that you would have never predicted that this would be your life. But it's not for the faint of heart.
And it all begins with the first step.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
You got to take that first step and try and pivot and keep going.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Speaking of taking the first step, we always like to provide people with an action step they can take this week. Do you have a small action step people can use to move forward in their life?
I do. One action step, this is more of awareness, is to choose powerfully. A lot of times, life happens to us. But sometimes you can slow down and say, what is going to serve me in the best way? What will serve me in the best way? Because sometimes we think we know, but we never ask the question to have another possibility show up. And the other thing is, I also ask sometimes when you want a different result, you ask a different question. And the question I oftentimes find myself asking is, what does it need to look like for me to get this done with grace and ease? So you put in the blanks. What does it need to look like? I've already had a life where I knew it. I knew the plan. I knew the game plan. And you know how to survive. Surviving is like you pick things from a menu. Okay, I picked this because you've seen it before. But you actually can create a life where you've never seen it before. And when you navigate in a life where you've never seen it before, it's in the questions that provides answers that you would never have known was available to you. So what does it need to look like in order for me to, build my business with grace and ease? What does it need to look like for me to be able to be the best consultant, but also be there for my family? As opposed to, oh my gosh, I hate that I'm going to miss another event. Sometimes the conversation we're in, you need to be in the right conversation to get the right answers in the right direction. It sounds small. However, it can be very powerful if you're willing to take it on.
And I think that's one of the things I've always been good at is setting boundaries.
Yes.
And also setting how much is enough.
Right. So
that I don't have to always have these conversations.
Right. But were you born like that, or did you learn that over time?
I learned it over time. I think one of the biggest reasons I learned this lesson is because when I was in corporate, they would say, oh, at the next level, like you can move up. But every time you moved up, it seemed like it was 50% more, but the pay was only 10 or 20% more. And I'm like, this math doesn't add up very well.
Right. It's someone's profit first. It's just not yours.
Yeah, it looks exciting and it sounds nice, but you're taking so much from me and you're giving me so little extra that I tapped out early. I'm like, no, I'm not going to play that game.
Right. Yeah. It's a hardcore lesson. But what I love about what you're saying is that you were able to be in a place where you can observe what was going on. You weren't so into what they're saying to tell you to do that you got lost in the shuffle and you just turned into this machine that just did what they said until you were ragged and run down. You know, you were able to actually ask a different question, to make a different decision.
And I think I've always challenged the status quo for good or for bad.
Yes, exactly. I can relate to that.
It's okay. Yeah, it's life. If you do what everyone else does, you'll end up like everybody else. And from what I see looking around, on average, people aren't that thrilled.
Exactly. Right.
So let's do it differently. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life? It makes a big difference. We all have to believe in something spiritually. Yes. And I'm a big fan of that. And, you know, it's amazing how many times in business I'm like, I need, and I ask, and it shows up. I'm like, wow, that was incredible. I need to ask for some more stuff.
Exactly.
What did you learn later in life that you wish you would have learned sooner?
It's okay to be different.
It is. It's very much so okay to be different.
Mm-hmm. They don't tell you that. Or they didn't tell me that.
No, they tell everyone you have to fit the mold, right?
Exactly.
People want you to fit the mold and they want to hold you back in doing that. Exactly. But the people who are different are the ones who get to have it all.
Yes.
If you were to give an 18-year-old one specific piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Stay curious. Stay curious. Because oftentimes we get a lot of things laid out for us, and you don't have to do everything, but just stay curious to understand that there might be another way to achieve the same thing, and lean into that creativity to support you in living your best life.
And unfortunately, by the time a kid gets to be 18, they've been in school so long that they've killed the curiosity gene. Exactly. So be curious, challenge always, and don't do what you're told to do, because
really, seriously, sorry, not sorry, but that's yes, it is.
If people would like to learn more about you, the documentary, where can they do that?
Well, you can. The documentary is very important, so I would love to share with you. Go to Live Rich, Spread Wealth, and that is where we have complimentary tickets to the documentary. It's complimentary. Anyone can go see it. And to find me, melissahughes.com. Social media handles, I am Melissa Hughes, and those are the different ways you can find me.
And we'll put those in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Rocky. It's been a pleasure.
Where can you learn to say no so that you can say yes to what you really want? Are you living your ultimate life, or at least building a path towards it? Melissa shared some great insights, and her documentary has more. Check it out. It's free. We can only live what we imagine. So go back and ask for more. What will you ask for? This week's action step was to choose powerfully. What will serve me in the best way possible? What other possibilities are possible? What does this need to look like for me to get this done? What do you need to do to achieve it? Think through what you want and then question everything and say no to what doesn't fit anymore. It's your choice. Make it happen. Takes us back to where we started today. Will you live in mediocrity of society, or are you going to live on your own terms? You get to choose. Next week, we continue this conversation with Eric Holzapfel. How to profit with presence. If you enjoyed this episode and know someone who you think might as well, would you please share it with them? I'd appreciate that. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.